and I'll start my slideshow. Please, if you can't see my screen within 30 seconds or so, send me a message. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about technology in immigration, and we happen to be talking about the Asia-Pacific region. Although this isn't a trend which is limited to the Asia-Pacific region, of course, the reason we've chosen one area to look at is because there's just too many countries we could have focused on. We needed to have a focus, and also because some of the leading developments in technology and online applications from governments have been in the Asia-Pacific region, especially, I have to say, Australia, who have been world leaders in this. And other countries all around the world some countries have tried to catch up or follow Australia's lead, some more successfully than others and some slower than others, and there's advantages and disadvantages to using technology in this way for applications. So I'm Daniel King. I'm the Asia Pacific Regional Immigration Manager for Peregrine Immigration Management Ltd. And today we've got 5 speakers, very knowledgeable local experts. We've got Amanda from Australia, Philo from Indonesia, Mikiko in Japan, Nicola in New Zealand, and Ainat, who'll be talking about not only Thailand, but Malaysia and Myanmar too. And as I was saying, very briefly, putting systems and information and services online is a global trend for governments. They are aiming to increase efficiency, to share data between departments in order to not let so many people slip through the gaps and to spot problems, and to be able to enforce compliance with the law more strictly and more thoroughly. And as I was very briefly saying before, this has been very successful in some cases, but it takes a long time to bed in and to develop these systems and make sure they're working. So in some cases, when new systems are brought online, it slows things down rather than speeds things up and causes more problems. But in the long run, obviously these governments are hoping that everything will work more smoothly for everybody, for applicants, for companies, for government parties too. So let's take a look, first of all, at Australia. I'll unmute Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, everybody.
Off you go.
It's 7 o'clock PM our time. I should be cooking dinner and having a gin and tonic, but never mind, I'm working.
Much appreciated, thank you.
That's all right. I will tell you about what we do as far as technology is concerned. As Dan mentioned, from my limited knowledge of other countries, I think that Australia seems to be, to a certain degree, at the forefront of online visa applications. We have close to, in Australia, 140 odd different visa applications, and the vast majority of these are online. So when we talk about online, that is applications are lodged through the Australian immigration website. People have to log in and apply for a password. When they log in and apply for a password, they are able to upload or attach personal documents such as birth certificates, marriage certificate, etc. And they are also able to see progress, although the progress chart is very basic at the moment as far as immigration is concerned. It is there. So if we could go to the first slide, Dan, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, you're not there yet. Sorry, I thought...
Sorry, that's all right. I only wrote these yesterday, so I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but it will give me an idea.
Can you see the first slide for Australia now?
No, not yet.
Sorry about this.
That's all right. While Dan's fiddling around with the IT stuff, I will continue talking. Our online system in Australia started about 5 to 7 years ago, and it has been slowly progressing. We initially started off with online tourist visas and business visitor visas, and year by year there are more and more applications that are coming online. We're nearly there. We've been told that in the next 2 to 3 years all of our visa applications will be applied for online. The biggest benefit that we have with online applications is that applicants don't need to send their passports anywhere. All of our visas are linked to the passport number, so we don't need to courier passports like we used to do in the old days, which is a great benefit for everybody coming to Australia. Some people can get a little bit tense when we tell them that there will be no visa inside their passport, and when they check in at the airport to come to Australia, all airlines around the world have access to the immigration arrival and departure information, so that when you check in at an airline to come to Australia, your passport number should automatically bring up an approved visa. If not, then the airline will not board you, because in Australia, for anybody who comes to Australia who doesn't have a visa, airlines are fined $20,000 per person. So you'll see in the first PowerPoint that we have here, this is what I've just been discussing. We have no visa labels. You don't need to send your passport anywhere when you apply for a visa. And all of our visas are linked to a passport number. Now, this can sometimes cause problems when people lose their passports, for example, or change their name. And we have to make sure we tell applicants all the time, if you get a new passport or if you change your name, please let us know, because we have to then request immigration to link the visa to the new passport. Otherwise, they won't be going anywhere. Okay, next slide, please, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one, yeah.
Is that right? Have you got it? Can you see it?
Yep, that's it. Thank you. So you'll see at my first dot point, with the online system that we have, immigration, we can't pay for applications by cash or bank check or personal check. They only accept credit card or BPay. BPay is direct debit. You can pay visa applications out of your bank account directly, if you so wish. The good, the bad and the ugly about that is our application fees compared to a lot of other countries can be quite high. For example, our current application fee for a partner, so that means if you're married to an Australian, is currently $6,865.
Okay.
So a lot of companies will give us their credit cards because they get frequent flyer points, so they like that fact. And some people don't like the fact that our fees can be quite high. Okay. When we go down to the third dot point, you'll see on the screenshot, the Immigration Office encourage online queries. They won't give advice over the phone. They will direct you to the Immigration Department website. And on average, if you call our generic telephone number for immigration queries, which is 131881, they will tell you to look on the Immigration Department website, which is filled with lots of useless and useful information. Even when you go into an immigration office in Australia or an immigration post overseas, a lot of them are tending to have laptops and computers on desks, again, encouraging people to go online. To my last point here on this slide, in Australia, there is no fee for a faster application. All applications are decided on a first come, first serve basis. okay? And they should be taken in date order from when they're lodged. A benefit of having applications that are lodged online is that when the application fee is paid by credit card or by direct debit, a receipt is issued automatically to the applicant, which is a good thing. And with that receipt comes a reference number. So the minute that you lodge an application, you can see that the Immigration Department have your documents. You can go online using your password and check what documents you have lodged, you have uploaded, and you can also have access to a file reference number. So that has been one of our biggest benefits of going online compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago, where we had to wait several weeks for a receipt, several weeks for an acknowledgement letter, and several weeks for a reference number. All of that is now done immediately when an application's lodged and paid for. Okay, next one please, Dan.
Sure.
Thank you. The Australian Taxation Office and the Immigration Department, now that vast majority of our applications are lodged online, this means that the tax and immigration now talk to each other. So in the good old days, the tax office staff actually had to get out of their chair, move out of their office and go and visit companies and ask them for confirmation of how much they paid their staff, for example. With the advent of our online immigration system, the Australian Tax Office can now access immigration files. And they do that for two main reasons, one of which is to check that companies are paying the salary that they said that they would pay their staff member, and to also make sure that the person is paying the correct amount of tax. So we definitely have the good, the bad and the ugly with online applications, okay?
Yep.
Immigration also share their information with other federal government departments. They share it with population, for example. They share it with social security. And this has enabled information on application forms to be double-checked with other federal government departments, to the extent now that when people go into another federal government department, such as social security, they have access to the personal details of the visa class that the person may have. And actually at the moment we're noticing that they are also accessing what applicants put on their arrival card when they come into Australia. So their name, their address, their marital status, their next of kin.
So that's not just going into a big pile of paper anymore. That's going on.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. It's definitely an online way to go. So we basically now spend many hours sitting in front of a computer, lodging applications, attaching documents to applications, and forwarding receipts to clients of applications that have been lodged.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Okay.
Thank you, especially the developments with data sharing at the end.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, that was very good. Thank you, Amanda. We're going to move
Thanks,
on.
Dan. You're
We're
welcome.
going to move on now to Philo. I'm going to mute Amanda and find Philo to unmute him. Philo, I think I didn't mute you at all. Are you there? Hello, Philo. Ah.
Yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
you're there.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, you're up. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Please
Oh,
tell
yeah,
us.
okay.
Please tell us about Indonesia.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm Philo Delano from Indonesia. So I want to introduce the Indonesian expatriate permits. So if you want to talk about the expatriate in Indonesia, it will be divided by two. First, we talk about the work permit, and then the second, we talk about the stay permit. For work permit is issued by the Ministry of Manpower, and for the stay permit issued by the immigration and local government. So for work permit, this is there are two letters. So first two permits, expatriate placement plan and working permit. So this is also for work permit. There is the type of work permit, 1 month for urgent work permit, 2 until 6 months for temporary work permit, and the normal work permit is 7 until 12 months. 1 month until 6 months, non-renewable, but for normal work permit, 7 until 12 months, renewable. So for the online system, actually from Ministry of Manpower started on 2011. But in 2011 until February 2015, we have to log in, we have to submit by online, but also we bring the hard copy of the document which we submitted in the online. So it means we work 2 times. But since February 2015, the ministry, they make it as a paperless. So we only submit by online for the document. Then we give the receipt to prove that we already submitted the documents in the system. So this is for the work permit. The work permit, we can submit the website of Manpower Ministry, and one company maximum have one user ID. And then for the application for work permit, we have to upload the documents. The document is company documents, and the expatriate document must be in color. And then for the processing time for RPTKA, 5 until 7 working days. For the work permit, we call it IMTA, 5 until 7 working days. But actually, based on the regulation state, the work permit must finish in 3 working days. But actually, based on the experience, it will be 5 until 7 working days or more. The last application, I need 13 working days to finish the RPTKA. So for the time, this is unpredictable how many days will finish. It can be faster or delayed. And then for the work permit, for the job title, there is a regulation from Ministry of Manpower regarding the job title. So for instance, for construction company, you have specific job title. For trading company, you also have specific job title. So for instance, for trading company, who can get 12 months a long-term period work permit only for director, commissioner, and the marketing manager and finance manager. So this is the I call it little bit weird, that actually, because there are many job titles in the company in the world, but if you come to Indonesia, you only have a specific job title. So like branch manager is not allowed in Indonesia. So you must be careful to put the job title. For the job title also must be in line with the experience maximum minimum 5 years, and also education, and then the resume work experience. And now for the new regulation since June 2015, for all the business meeting with headquarter or representative office Indonesia require temporary work permit. Before June 2015, if a foreigner want to have a meeting in Indonesia, they only apply for business visa. You can apply for a single business visa or multiple entry business visa. But now you have to apply work permit. Else, if you want not apply the work permit, then the possibility you can be deported and not allowed to enter Indonesia for future.
Yeah, thank you.
This is work permit, and for the next slide. Or can you go to the next? Yeah, okay. Stay permit. So stay permit, first for applying visa. Stay permit, we apply visa also. This is started in 2011. So for visa, we call it a limited stay visa. So for login, one company also maximum one user ID. But if the company has not a user ID, you can use the visa as guest without user ID. And then the application will also uploaded the company document, and also the expatriate document must be in color. And the processing time for limited stay visa is 5 until 7 working days. After the visa, uh, if visa is approved, then you can pick it up in the Indonesian embassy abroad. So you can take it in the Malaysia or Singapore, etc. And then after you arrive in Indonesia, then you have to arrange for limited stay permit and multiple exit entry permit. This is we arrange in the immigration office, the local immigration office. This is we submitted with manual. So submit the passport, and then after three days, then take the fingerprint and also take the picture. After that, for police report at the police office, then temporary resident certificate and expected existence report at the registration resident office. This is for 14 working days. So for the stay permit, not only for limited stay visa, but the other visa in Indonesia, there is free short visa. This is for 75 countries, and this is only 1 month. And then visa on arrival, this is free short visa for tourists, special for tourists, visa on arrival for business meeting, visiting visa also, and multiple entry business visa for 12 months also for business meeting. So for instance, if you as the CAO and you want to have a meeting in Indonesia, you apply for work permit RT3A and IMTA. But if you want, if you including 50 countries in ASEAN, you can use free short visa. But like if you are from, if you are British or Australia, you have to apply visa on arrival to have a meeting in Indonesia.
Okay.
I think this is the for the Indonesian
Thank you.
permit.
Thank you, Philo.
Okay,
That's really interesting. I'll briefly summarize that. Between 2011 and 2015, applications for both stay permits and work permits were made online, but also had to be submitted manually, so you had to do twice as much work.
Yes.
Since last month,
Yes.
The work permits, or since
February 2015.
Sorry, since this year, February, everything has gone online.
Yeah, February 2015.
Hard copy applications are no longer required, but very recently, since September, or maybe the end of August, I can't remember exactly what you said, some changes were made. The application process was made quite a lot shorter, with a step removed, and for work permits, that is, and also some new kinds of business meetings now require a work permit instead of a business visa, which so people should be very careful about applying, about coming on business meetings, for business meetings to Indonesia, because they might well be caught out because they haven't got the right kind of permit. So I think that was very interesting, but we need to move on. Thank you very much, Philo.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I'm going to release Mikiko now. Let me know if, can we hear your voice, Mikiko?
Yep.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. So from here, I'll talk about visa applications in Japan. Unfortunately, I will touch on this a bit later, but we are not that much advanced in terms of modern technology like the other countries. But while I'm here, I just wanted to give a general briefing on the different visa categories in Japan and how the process works, just in case some of you are not familiar.
That's good. Thank you.
So basically, on the first slide, I'm explaining about the principal visa categories for international assignments to Japan, because the majority of our clients are here on assignments. So I will basically touch on what are the major categories for people coming to Japan on work assignments. So intra-company transferee, this is mainly for assignees that are transferred from a foreign country office of the same company to Japan on an assignment basis. So basically, normally their payroll will remain in their home country, and they will be here on a maybe 2 or 3 year assignment. And the important factor for this is actually the assignee must have worked for the current company for over 1 year, and the employer must have some kind of capital relationship with the entity in Japan. If these requirements cannot be met, then this visa category might not be possible to be applied. Another category, major category, is engineer specialist in humanities international services, and these are for assignees who are hired locally by a company based in Japan. Basically the assignee must have a direct employment contract with this Japanese entity, and professional or educational background must match with the job description in Japan. So basically they can't be studying or doing something completely different before coming here and being hired by the Japanese company. So this is basically checked by immigration before this type of visa is granted. Another is business manager, and this is for assignees that are either, well, they could be on home country payroll or host country payroll, but basically they are senior management level people, and they might be actually trying to establish a new company in Japan. And basically they must be listed as a director on the corporate registration or have more than 3 years management experience before coming on assignment. And another recently developed category is called highly skilled professional. This is for executive level assignees with highly skilled professional and educational backgrounds. Basically, the system works is, how the system works is that points are calculated based on their educational and professional background and also their income. And if you can reach 70 points, you can qualify for this status. So on the next slide, basically, I will explain about the application process, how the application process works. So basically, I think, first of all, you kind of determine which category visa this assignee should be applying for. Then they would submit an application for a document called the Certificate of Eligibility. We call it COE normally. And this, from application submission to the issuance of this certificate, could be anything between 3 to 8 weeks. It is faster for companies who have a larger organization in Japan. Basically, they give priority, like express service kind of, a simplified process for companies who have a readily established large organization in Japan. So for those type of companies, the application could be actually even less than 3 weeks, close to 2 weeks or even less. Whereas if the company is still fairly small in Japan or being newly established, it could take as much as maybe even 8 or 9 weeks. So we would need to consult with our clients in advance on the expectations of the timelines. Once this COE is issued, the assignees would be required to apply for the actual visa at the Japanese embassy or consulate in their country of origin. The COE is not a visa. They still need a visa, and they will need to take the original COE as well as their passport and also an application form and photo, etc., to the embassy or consulate to get the actual visa. Because they're already pre-qualified to get this visa, the process normally doesn't take that long, and it depends on the location, but normally 3 to 7 work days. Once the visa is stamped into their passport, the assignees would land in Japan, and then they will, at the airport, receive what is called a residence card. It's a credit card size card with your photo on it, and basically it's your personal identification. If you're over 16 years old, you're required to carry this at all times while you're staying in Japan. And this residence card that you receive at the airport will not have your address on it. So you also have to visit the local city offices where your long-term residence is located to complete what is called residence registration. This must be completed within 14 days from moving into the long-term residence, and basically they will write your address on the back of the card and endorse it, and then you're officially a resident of Japan. So last slide for Japan, please.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So in terms of technology, as I mentioned in the beginning, currently there's not that much technology in use, except for the fact that the application forms can all be downloaded from the Immigration Bureau's website. So you can visit the Immigration Bureau website. They have versions in different languages, and basically you select the right application form and you can download it, but you have to print it out. And by the way, two-side printing is not accepted. And you will basically fill out the form on a PDF file or Excel file, print it out, and then electronic signatures are not accepted, so you have to physically sign the document, and the original needs to be submitted. So in that term, it's still very, very analog and old styled. And as I say in my last point, basically governmental work in Japan is still very analog, and we currently do not foresee any signs of changing to online applications, but we never know, so let's keep some hope that things will develop over the next few years. So I guess that's it for Japan.
That's very interesting. Thank you, Mikiko. I'll mute you again. And now we have Nicola from New Zealand. Hi, Nicola.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi.
So, Dan, you probably want to move on to the second slide, because the first slide's just the great. Excellent. So New Zealand is only in terms of online visa applications, I hasten to add, is not as advanced as Australia. Everywhere else we are. And we're moving swiftly towards online mode. At the moment, 60% of our visas can be applied for online. It's a relatively new thing, and so what's happening in reality is probably only a small percentage being applied for online. For transferring of employees into New Zealand, the most common type of work visas are up there on the slides. The first one is Essential Skills Work Visa, and that is by far and away the most common type of work visa, temporary work visa for New Zealand. And the applicant has to demonstrate that they meet the experience or qualification requirements for the occupation they are coming in to fill, and also the employer has to demonstrate by way of a labour market check that there's no New Zealanders available or readily trainable for the job. That particular an applicant applying for that type of visa, once they've got the evidence to prove all of that, can apply online. There's also a specific purpose work visa, and that is the type of work visa that is commonly used for intra-company transfers. If a overseas employer is sending an employee to an entity or subsidiary in New Zealand, or they're coming to New Zealand for a specific project with a client, for example. The requirement for the application is to demonstrate the specific purpose and to explain why there is no threat to opportunities for New Zealanders, but it doesn't require a full labour market check. And the third most common type of work visa is the work to residence visa. That's where the employing company in New Zealand has been accredited by Immigration New Zealand, our immigration authority. That's a great thing because it means that as long as the employee being brought to New Zealand is being paid more than $55,000 per annum and is aged 55 or under, then there's no need to meet a labour market check or demonstrate that there's a specific project or no risk to opportunities for New Zealanders. And also the employee, him or herself, doesn't have to show his or her qualifications. So it's a great visa option, and it is also able to be applied for online. So Dan, do you want to move on to the next slide?
There we go.
Excellent. So I just wanted to go. I just wanted to go through the practicalities of how the online system works in New Zealand. What happens in New Zealand is the applicant or the employer or the advisor who's submitting the application on the applicant's behalf create a RealMe account. And a RealMe is an online account which you create, and from then on, whenever you deal with the New Zealand government, you can deal with it through your RealMe account. So you can use it to pay your taxes, to apply for a student loan. We're going to have, everybody's basically going to have an online account. That is the plan. Once you've done your RealMe account, you're automatically moved through to the application form, the online application form, where you select what type of visa you're applying for, and you complete the questions that appear before you. You can leave the form partway through and come back to it. It doesn't have to be done all at once. There's more questions on the online form than there are in the paper forms, which I think is quite interesting. You have to upload all of your documents, so you don't need to provide originals, you just upload them into your online form, and that includes a JPEG of a passport photograph, which has to meet specific size requirements. At the end of the form, the application fee is paid by credit card, much like Amanda was saying before, and it's paid in New Zealand dollars, which is actually quite useful in some respects, because it means for a company they can fix how much they're going to be spending, and they're not subject to the vagaries of currency exchange so much. Then, not for most people, you then need to send a passport and a completed visa application centre form to the visa application centre. So for most visas, even though it's submitted online, we're not quite up to Australia's speed. We're not having the visas issued electronically, except for certain countries in the Pacific, and for people who are in New Zealand and are from a visa waiver country. For a country that doesn't normally need a visa to come into New Zealand on holiday, if they apply for a further visa when they're here, they will get an e-visa if they apply online. So if you want to go on to the last slide there, Dan.
There you go.
Lovely. Okay. The restrictions are, and this is a biggie, is that you cannot apply online if you're bringing family with you. So if you're single and fancy free, it all goes through quite quickly, but if you're bringing your spouse and your charming children with you, you've got to do it on the papers. And I don't quite understand the logic why we haven't got to that level yet, but they promise us that they're going to sort that out. And by the same reasoning, if you're coming to New Zealand to be with a New Zealander, the best looking people in the world, you will probably, you cannot apply online. You'll have to apply by paper. The good news is that our application fee is only $930, not, I think it was $3,000 that Amanda said, for Australia. You may find that you cannot apply online if you have an adverse immigration history. So if you've come to New Zealand before and you've been a bit naughty and have had to leave, you will probably find that when you try to do an online form, it tells you that you have to submit it by paper. When an employer has to complete an employer supplementary form, which is the form you complete to demonstrate the labour market check has been met, that at the moment is a paper form, but they're looking to do that online. And basically I've just provided a wee link there if you wanted to go on and have a wee play or have a wee look at the New Zealand's online system.
Thank you. Well, very interesting. There's a huge range so far in the countries we've looked at, between nothing online and everything online, and countries at various points in between. Finally, we've got INAT to talk about several countries. We were going to ask her to talk about Thailand to start with. but there's not much to say about online services in Thailand. So Ainat's going to talk about a couple of other countries. Can we hear you, Ainat?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Great. So we'll speak about three countries: Malaysia, Myanmar, and Thailand. Malaysia has the most advanced online application system within those three countries. And Malaysia actually did a very nice online application system launched in June 2014. Since then, every company that wants to submit for employment passes needs to register within the ESD. The registration process for the company is being made online, and everything needs to be submitted online, which is quite handy. It will take roughly 14 days until the company gets their login details, and then they can start submitting for employment passes. There are three types of employment passes in Malaysia. We won't go to each one of them. They are the main differences are the salary and the length of the contract for employment. The whole process is being made online, although that once the application is being approved, the employee needs to submit his passport to the MY expat centers and get the approval within the center. So the last part of the process is being made physically within Malaysian service center, which make it a bit more complicated to get the final pass. The whole system is very, very friendly, very straightforward, very easy to handle. The only problem with the ESD system in Malaysia is that they have a lot of failure within the service. So we find ourselves in many applications, trying to log in applications, trying to register as companies with not much of success, which require a physical presence within the service centers in order to do the login. So they do still suffer from technical issues and difficulties to log in. But from our experience, once it's been submitted or when it's working properly, it's very, very handy. The process is very clear, very straightforward, making it quite easy for companies and expats to use. I think we can go to the next slide.
Oh, there we go. We've talked about this. Sorry, I missed that slide.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Thank you, Myanmar.
Basically, this is Malaysia. The second country which adopted online applications about a year ago as well is Myanmar. They started with tourist applications, so as of 2014, every tourist that wants to enter to Myanmar needs to submit an online application. It can be done only, I think, only through Thailand via agents. The system is quite handy. The only problem that we found with the online application system is the uploading photos, which is kind of tricky. But the good news about the Myanmar online application system is that as of July this year, they are supporting also business visa. Prior to July, in order to get a business visa, an employee needed to go with all the documentation into the airport, just queue in line, present all the documentation, and get it upon arrival. But it took a long time, and it was not very friendly. So now the e-business section is also part of the online application. Applications are, duration with a business visa is for 70 days. Every other application for work permit, for permanent work permit, is being made in Myanmar directly. There is no online application for it. So we found the system very, very friendly, very handy. The only problem is that the system accepts only online payments, but they're not very secure at the moment in terms of internet secure protocols. So unfortunately, you have to use them. You have to use the payment system, but it's not secure. It's not really secured. So this is our main concern with the online application in Myanmar at the moment, mainly when it comes to business visa and credit companies' credit cards. But it seems that this is the only way at the moment. So that's kind of something that we need to take in mind.
Okay. Finally.
As per of Thailand, Thailand is not really adapting technology these days, and we don't have any forecast for online application for the near future. Although Thailand, work permit in Thailand is being made once the employee is already in Thailand, so he needs to enter to Thailand with non-immigrant visa, and then he needs to submit the work permit. The process is not very difficult. The only thing, and it takes only 7 days to get the work permit, although the company needs to prepare lots of documentation in order to submit this application. The only thing that needs to take in mind in Thailand with the regular working permit is the ratio of four locals to one foreigner employee. So companies needs to keep this ratio in order to be able to apply for a work permit for foreigners in Thailand. We are talking in the last few years, lots of companies are going under the BOI process in Thailand, which is a process that basically encourage mainly service and technology company to register in Thailand and to operate from Thailand. So under the BOI, if company is registered as a BOI company, there are no ratio of 4:1 in terms of employment, and work permit process is very, very easy. And it includes also some tax benefits for the companies and for the employees themselves. So we will always advise companies to see if the BOI option is relevant for them. I think that summarizes Thailand.
Thank you. Thank you, Aina. That was very interesting. We could talk about many other countries which you cover, and we could have had more speakers on for other countries, but we're running a bit short of time now, and I'd like to read out some questions, or a couple of questions perhaps. We've got some from Glenn, and one interesting question he's given me for all of you, or any of you who have an answer. Do you have any examples of e-enforcement occurring and resulting in companies' sponsorship or registration status being terminated or frozen, or applications being rejected because of the data which has gone online during the application process? If anyone would like to answer that question, could you pop a little message in the window? Or maybe I should just open it up. Maybe I should open it up to all the speakers. Amanda's not been muted anyway. She's kept quiet. That's good.
So we have a case like this in Malaysia about 6 months ago. So a company needed to renew their the ESD registration, and they thought they did everything correctly within the system, and they needed to renew the employment pass of one of the employees that was already in Malaysia. And apparently, a day before the termination of his current working permit, we just got a letter saying that the data wasn't processed properly. That there was a problem with the system.
Okay.
The data wasn't processed properly, and it was kind of a race from this point to get the application renewed within 1 day.
So this is an interesting point because it's not really the same as in the question, but this is very important because things can go wrong with electronic systems just as they can with paper systems. And what happens if the technology messes up or fails? Who is responsible for sorting it out? Is the data lost? Are the people who are managing the applications able to sort things out? And it sounds like it is possible in Malaysia.
It is possible, but it's not advisable.
Okay. Does anybody have any examples of governments who have actually enforced their laws using the online systems, or who've been able to catch people breaking the law, or who've failed to comply with the law because of their new online systems?
Not in New Zealand, not yet.
Okay. How about Amanda? I can't hear Amanda. Okay.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you now. Hi.
Sorry, is your question, does immigration take what you lodge online as correct? And if it's not correct, are they going to come after and sanction you? Is that your question?
I think the question is, basically, the question is, do you have any examples where the government has caught people who have been non-compliant because of the new e-systems? Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah. Okay.
It happens all the time because our system is pretty much an online system.
Yeah.
People are caught. We have a very big case at the moment in Australia where there's a chain of convenience stores, 7-Eleven stores.
Yeah.
And I guess it goes to my point earlier on about the tax office and the immigration department sharing information, where it was found that the 7-Eleven stores have been drastically underpaying their staff.
Okay.
And they have been employing student visa holders on full-time basis when they're not permitted to.
Okay.
And that came to light two ways, one of which it came to light through an investigative television show and also through the tax office confirming pay rates and tax concessions that the 7-Eleven stores were not paying the award wages to their staff.
Okay.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm sure, actually, even in places like Thailand and Japan, where systems are not online yet, data is still shared between government departments, just maybe less effectively or efficiently. And people still might be caught via the immigration department for underpaying or not paying taxes or other things.
My understanding is that because New Zealand and Australia immigration is very closely linked as far as our online systems are moving towards, is that, Nicola, you'll see some changes coming, I understand, next year, where you will be more and more aligned to the tax office. I understand our two Prime Ministers spoke about it last week.
Okay.
We certainly have plenty of cases where people have put in false documents or made false statements. That happens all the time with paper applications, but I haven't had any that have come across my desk yet with an online.
Okay. Another good question from Glenn was, are any countries cooperating with each other in data sharing yet?
Well, I have a case at the moment where a client, or there's been information shared through the Five Eyes network.
Okay.
So so it's certainly happening.
Okay, so
we have a case that is not related to Asia, but we actually got rejected for work permit in Uganda because they are checking information with the Interpol. So it's not countries sharing, but that was very surprising to learn that they get information from the Interpol. they were just able to identify that the employee has previous criminal record, which he didn't reported in the US.
Okay.
Which was very impressive, actually.
Yeah, that is impressive. Which just goes to show that it's more and more important for companies to get their applications right and to make sure that they're compliant with the law in immigration as well as anywhere else. Because if they get pulled up for something in their immigration applications on behalf of their assignees, that might flag up something else somewhere else that they've not kept compliant with.
That's right.
One more very quick question. Catherine asks, what security is in place for these online systems to protect data? It's a big question. We've talked about lots of countries. Have any countries made a big deal, a big point out of the security of the data which they're collecting? Or do they not talk about it very much in your experiences?
Well, from my perspective, in
Dan,
New
it's Amanda
Zealand,
here. We talk about privacy a lot.
Okay. Go for it, Amanda, and then if you don't mind, Nicola, we'll come back to you.
Sorry, Dan. We talk about privacy a lot. When we start communicating with clients, we have to send them a privacy document to let them know how their information is being disseminated to other government departments. But when and how their own data is stored, we're not privy to that information.
Okay. It's likely that the governments, in many cases, will have standards they have to meet in terms of data storage, but I imagine that it's not always shared, that information, with the applicants or the agents. Nicola, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was about to say the privacy. I was about to point out the privacy issue as well, and that's been particularly noted in New Zealand because as part of the online process, we've recently moved to online medical checks.
Okay.
And the doctors, once they carry out the medical checks, are forwarding by email, effectively, I believe, the medical results to the immigration authorities directly.
Right.
And a good friend of mine is one of New Zealand's leading privacy lawyers, and he's been trying to get to the bottom of how they're protecting that information, because obviously it's extremely personal and private information, and he still hasn't got a very satisfactory answer about that.
Yeah, his email is not necessarily a very secure.
Yeah, it's probably something a bit more, but it's basically going electronically, and it's from every country in the world, so it's it must be largely through the email, the interwebby. So
yeah. Okay, that is interesting. And also the point which Einat made about payments earlier in Myanmar. However friendly and efficient and effective and helpful a system is, if you're giving your credit card or company credit card details to a government agency on an unsecured payment page transaction system, it's not ideal at all. And so that just demonstrates that however easy you can make something and however useful it is, it's only going to be really as good as its security and privacy. Well, that was very interesting, everybody. Thank you very much for your presentations and for your answers. And I hope that the people who have attended our webinar today are pleased and have had and learned something interesting. I certainly have. I will make the recording of this webinar available hopefully today on our blog. So if anybody can't find that then by tomorrow, then please let me know and I can share that with you. Does anyone else have anything else to say before we go? I've muted everybody, haven't I? So I don't have any answers to that unless anyone sends anything in the chat window. Okay. Well, thank you very much to all our speakers and our attendees, and have a good rest of your day or evening, whichever the case may be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.